Happening now on Grid tonight. Chip Ganassi Racing was fastest on Wednesday at IMS, who looked quick on the first official day of practice in which teams have some work to do. Formula One canceled the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix due to terrible flooding in Italy. Will this unexpected off weekend be a welcome break for the entire Formula One paddock, and could this race be rescheduled at a later date? Trackhouse Racing team owner Justin Marks addressed recent on-track incidents involving his driver Ross Chastain. What did Marks have to say about Chastain's aggressive driving style after facing criticism from Rick Hendrick after last weekend's race at Darlington Raceway? Hello to all of viewers watching here in the United States and around the world. Welcome to Grid Tonight, your weekly motorsports news program. I'm Kobe Lambert from the Podium Finish. With me, we have Joshua Burge, and welcome back to Jonathan Fiel. We encourage everyone to comment in the chat below and ask any questions you may have. Now, Josh, take it away with a full recap of Wednesday's Indy 500 practice session.
Thank you, Kobe. Hello, Jonathan. And after the Entity IndyCar Series didn't practice yesterday due to rain, today was a different story with a full day of on-track action. The session ran from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Able Motorsports driver R.C. Ederson had the track all to himself at first to complete his rookie orientation program before the track opened up for all drivers at noon Eastern. We saw a good mix of single car runs and group running, with drivers slipstreaming and practicing the slingshot overtake. Picking up where they left off in the month of May last year, racing the 4 Hondas inside the top 10. Takuma Sato set the fastest time as well, with the fastest speed, 229.439 mile per hour, followed then by Scott Dixon in second, Alex Blow in fourth, and the defending Indy 500 champion Marcus Ericsson only 7th fastest. After Sato and Dixon at the top, Santino Ferrucci was third, Scott McLaughlin 5th, 6th fastest for Colton Herta. Ryan Hunter-Ray was 8th, Joseph Newgarden and Marco Andretti completed out the top 10. The photo taken there by James Black from Penske Entertainment. Coming to you first, Kobe, then to you, Jonathan, as well. We've got What's Up Team, great to see Jonathan on Grid Tonight from Ben as well, great comment as well. Now as well, Kobe, we've already said that Alan McLaren looked to be the early favourites, but they had a real quiet Wednesday. Did Ganassi remind us all today why they are a force to be reckoned with?
Honestly, I think I'm making the same mistake I made last year. Last year, we were looking at all the other Chip Ganassi racing Hondas, but all of us but you, Josh. We all ignored Marcus Ericsson. You were the only one who kept an eye on him, and he ended up taking home the trophy. And all we've been focused on is Team Penske, the great test they had last month, the open test, and then Aaron McLaren, all the momentum they had. And not once did we mention Chip Ganassi. Even on yesterday's show, we didn't even mention Ganassi, and here they are reminding us why Chip Ganassi Racing is always, as you said, a force to be reckoned with during the month of May. I don't think today could have gone better for Chip Ganassi's program with all 4 of their drivers in the top 10, and then looking at Aaron McLaren, certainly no time for them to panic, but definitely a real quiet day at the office for that organization. See, Alexander Rossi was only 19th fastest, 20th place for Pato O'Ward. Tony Kanaan was in 23rd, and Felix Rosenqvist all the way down in 27th. I think they want to practice. They shouldn't really be concerned about that. We'll see how the next couple of days go. But if I'm Chip Ganassi right now, certainly have to be smiling because today they reminded us that any 4 of their drivers could go out there and take home the Bort Warner Trophy and drink in the milk in victory lane at Indy.
Yeah, certainly. And, I think it just was a game of veterans. You saw Takuma Sato topping the charts. Of course, you had Scott Dixon near the top, but also some interesting names, too. We saw like Santino Ferrucci, Alex Palou. But going back to what you guys were talking about, definitely, I think Ganassi is definitely flexing their muscles right now and proving that their playbook for Indy is immense as anybody out there, even more immense than anybody out there. I look for big things with Palou. I think he could be a real favorite for the race. Of course, it's early on in the practice sessions, but yeah, I think Ganassi is reminding everybody why they are great. And I think McLaren's got some work to do, but yeah, certainly great to see Ganassi. Great for them that they're flexing their chops right now.
Got a comment from Adam as well. Hello, Adam, as well. You can never, ever count out Chip Ganassi Racing at IMS. They'll be in the hunt for the pole and win for the Indy 500 as well. And Adam, I keep saying, you need to come on at least one of the sections of the broadcast as well. Absolutely love to hear from you. As you, Johnny, you said, Jonathan, as well, a big surprise towards the end of the practice day was Santino Ferrucci going third fastest for AJ Foyt Racing. The Foyt team hasn't really had much luck or strong results in recent history as well. However, Ferrucci is looking to keep his top 10 streak alive in the Indy 500. On May 28th, if Ferrucci takes his number 14 Chevrolet to a top 10 finish, it'll be his fifth consecutive in the greatest spectacle in racing. Standing with as well, were you caught off guard by the number 14 Chevrolet speed? And does this inspire more confidence that Ferrucci's top 10 streak can continue?
Yeah, I certainly think Ferrucci's had a lot of speed at Indy. He knows the track. He has a lot of good skill and prowess there. And of course, when you get AJ Foyt involved when it comes to Indy, you know there's going to be some big things. Of course, haven't had the most success there, but yeah. And I think the biggest thing with Ferrucci is that when you look at where he was fastest, it was toward the end of the session. I mean, his fastest lap was the 75th of 79 laps that he ran. So that shows that they were really working on some things and starting to progress as the practice session went on. So as we start getting deeper into the month of May, if they can keep up that progress and stay with it, because I mean, obviously some teams that are behind now are going to find some different things throughout the month and catch up, but if they can keep that up, there's a lot of good stuff that lies ahead for them, I think.
Yeah, I was really surprised to see the number 14 go all the way up to third place. And Jonathan, you brought up a good point. It really shows that team's been working on some things throughout the day and got the car dialed in at the right time, right there at the end of practice. We'll see if the number 14 can show up again tomorrow. And then on Fast Friday, continuing to turn up the wick. Really excited for Fast Friday. It'll be interesting to see how this car looks in qualifying trend versus in race trend. It seemed like Ferrucci's car was able to draft well, slipstream. And at the end of the day, once you make the race, all that matters is make sure you have a car that's fast, that can handle. And of course, IndyCar's made some changes with the cars to try to block out some of the dirty air so they can be able to fall together more closely. And we saw that a lot today in practice, which gives us some confidence heading into race day on Memorial Day weekend. But all in all, I think this does inspire more confidence that Santino Ferrucci can keep that top 10 streak going. But before today, I was a bit skeptical about that. But after the speed they're showing, I think it's certainly possible that Santino can get another top 10 in the Indy 500.
And taking a look at the bottom of the charts, Catherine Legg was 31st as well in her IndyCar return. Top speed at 224.461 mile per hour. I need to remember the mics there, not on me. It's like normal. So Christian Lundgaard as second. Ray Hall Lemon Lanigan Racing Honda was 32nd. RC Edison for Able Motorsports came in 33rd. And the slowest driver was Junkers Hollinger Racing's Callum Ilott in 34th position. Now, I know it's only one day of practice complete, but should any of these drivers start feeling nervous about bump day?
To be honest, Josh, I know it's just day one, but regardless of what day it is, whether it's the first day of practice, second, third day of practice, I'm going to be very concerned if I'm in what they like to call the danger zone. And Callum Ilott being 34th fastest, that is not a good place to be right now. And I know that teams really struggle to try to get some speed out of the car. His teammate Agustin Canapino was able to get some speed out of the car later on in the day. So maybe Callum's team can look at the data they get from the number 78 and try to figure out something there. I know in the NBC broadcast on Peacock, they were talking about potentially Junco's taking Callum's car back to the shop and basically making a really, really big change overnight to try to find some speed. But of the charts, you have to be very, very, very concerned, that wondering, can we make the changes overnight so it can feel better? And motorsports, things happen so quickly. Today, be feeling frustrated. Tomorrow they might be able to improve the car well enough to get it up to mid-pack where they're not going to be worrying at all. So who knows? Indianapolis is such an unpredictable beast, and we'll have to see if these teams can make some big gains on day 2.
Yeah, I certainly agree about Callum Millett, just being at the bottom. That's not where you want to be, even on opening day. That's kind of a gut, or one of the opening days. That's a gut punch to be near the bottom, to have all your work just come out to be 34th. Also, I think what's very interesting is just seeing RC Anderson and Able Motorsports. Like, that's somewhat of a Cinderella story that's going on there, and how they're able to get a car out on track, being cleared to compete with everybody else, cleared to practice, being able to do this. I'm curious to see how that's going to work out, if they're going to keep progressing with their speed, because I can imagine, other drivers are going to keep progressing, keep finding things, keep working. How are they going to do throughout the month? I'm curious about them. I think I'm also curious about Roman Grosjean too, 30th on the speed charts. Obviously, he's still above that quote unquote danger zone that we were talking about, but still just being that low, I doesn't really inspire confidence. And I also look in Ed Carpenter as well. His fastest lap was his 3rd lap and ran 28th. So some interesting drivers who are near the bottom there, but I agree. Callum Millett, I think the team needs some work on their car to be able to make the 500.
Absolutely. And yesterday we talked a little bit about Ryan Hunter-Reay, and on Tuesday evening, an article from Racers.com, Marshall Pruitt, shed some more light on his situation over at Dreyer and Rainbold as well. Now, the NBC sports broadcast on Peacock touched on this story as well, with Hunter-Reay's number 23 Chevrolet running unsponsored in a bare black livery. The only logos on the car are dealerships belonging to the team owner, Dennis Reinbold. It's not unusual for teams to show up at the Speedway without sponsorship and get someone on board before the race. But coming back to you, Jonathan, as well, does it surprise you that even an IndyCar and the Indy 500 champion can't get a sponsor for the biggest race of the year?
Oh, Ryan Hunter-Reay fans, you might not like me right now, but no, honestly, like to be honest with you, the results just have not been there for Ryan Hunter-Reay. I mean, even looking back at the stats since 2015, like 2016 to present, Ryan Hunter-Reay only has 2 wins. I mean, even just since the end of 2018, 3 podiums, no races run last season. The results really haven't been there, especially on the ovals as well. So I'm not really surprised. However, though, that team is showing a lot of speed. And as we've seen throughout the month of May, when teams start to show speed, really start to show, that race winning potential, that's when companies will jump on board and really understand that they're going to get a good deal for their money. And I think I'm not going to be sounding the alarms yet on them, but I completely understand why this is a problem. But it is very odd to see for a champion. I understand where you're coming from there.
Before I answer a question, catch up on the chat room. Casey Campbell wants to let us know that Augie Grill took the win in the pro late model race for the Cars Tour at North Wilkesboro. Yeah, it's a big weekend for North Wilkesboro Speedway on NASCAR All-Star Weekend. We're certainly going to be following all the action here at Grid Network. And getting back to the question you were asking Josh about Ryan Hunter-Reay. Speaking from, when you're not looking at all the stats, and stuff, it is a bit surprising to me that an IndyCar and Indy 500 champion can't get a sponsor for the biggest race of the year. But if Ryan Hunter-Reay keeps up this form that we've seen from him today, who knows? Maybe we could see RHR get a sponsor before the Indy 500, and would not surprise me if that black livery has some color on it before the green flag drops on Memorial Day weekend. And Jonathan, you're right. I'm just looking at Ryan Hunter-Reay's stats right now, and in the last few years of his full-time Indy career, he kind of fell off big time in terms of performance, and the results just haven't been there at all. Believe his final win was a few years ago in 2018 at Sonoma. That was his last win. So it's certainly been a while. And then his final full season in the IndyCar series in 2021. he finished way down in 17th place. But the year before that, he was 10th and 8th. So we've seen quite a bit of fall off towards RHR at the end of his full-time racing in IndyCar career. And looking at the open test last month, he had a really good test there. And it shows that John Rumble, the speed they have is no fluke at all. And they continue to show that tomorrow, Fast Friday, get a good starting spot for the Indy 500. Would not surprise me if we see, as I said, if we see a sponsor hop on board and be willing to support that effort.
I suppose we can do it, guys. I think get the Grid Network logo on the side. That'll look great as well on the side. Definitely get us to 1,000 subscribers, which I encourage everybody to do as well. Now, last year, David Malukas finished 16th in his first Indy 500, and since then, he's become one of the top drivers on the market for next year. In his first year, he had a veteran teammate to lean on, the two-time Indy 500 champion Takuma Sato, who's moved over to Chip Ganassi Racing for this year's race. That leaves Malukas as the lead driver with rookie teammate Stingray Robb. Malukas is a young driver, still getting experience and learning himself while trying to help his inexperienced teammate get up to speed. Now, is it a disadvantage for Dale Coyne to be missing a veteran driver's presence this year?
In regards of setups and stuff, I think yes, it's quite a disadvantage not having the veteran presence like Takuma Sato. I felt like Takuma was very helpful to David Malukas, and now David Malukas has turned into the team leader, and he's trying to help his rookie teammate Stingray Robb, and I think David's done a really good job so far in his short IndyCar career, but nothing beats years of experience. And as you said, he's still trying to get experience himself and also teach someone else at the same time. We didn't see an extra coin card this year with a veteran that could have helped that team out, but that they made do with the best that they have. And I think David Malukas, he last year he showed some really good speed. I think he has some great potential this year as well in this event to have a really good month of May, and we'll have to see how things go there.
I think David definitely needs that kind of veteran support to some extent. You know, we've seen his results kind of fall off a little bit, but also too, we've been able to see him show strength on, at Texas when he finished fourth. So I think that veteran presence is missing, but also I think that at the same time too, David is still able to show his performance, show his strength. Just looking at the practice sheet here as well, 16th, not too bad. So I think to some extent needs the veteran presence, but also too, I think he's kind of coming into his own as well.
And speaking of Sato, he shares the number 11 Honda with Marcus Armstrong, who's only scheduled to run the road and street courses this season. Armstrong is at the track observing all the action and spending time with Chip Ganassi Racing. Sato only has a deal to run Texas and Indy, but nothing yet for the remaining oval races at Iowa and Gateway. When NBC Sports interviewed Armstrong, he seemed thrilled about the possibility of competing in the Indy 500 someday, but he wants to see what the future holds in regards to running an oval race. Strong is on a similar program as Romain Grosjean's first year in IndyCar. Do you think it's realistic to suggest we could see Armstrong make his oval debut later this year at Iowa or Gateway?
I think possibly, toward the end of the season, if he feels like really starting to get comfortable, really has built up a good notebook, we could possibly see him. But I think at this point, just being able to, get familiar, get, acquainted with the car, just on the road courses, I think he's doing a good job with that, and continue doing that, continue getting focused. But yeah, I could certainly see him making a couple starts later this season.
Yeah, John, I totally agree with everything you said. I really like how Romain Grosjean did. I remember at first he was very hesitant about running the ovals in the NTT IndyCar series, and then once he got more familiar with the car on the road and street courses, saw how things were on in oval racing IndyCar, especially the safety of the car. He decided to go out to Gateway and try oval racing. later that season, and he ended up making the highlight reel, making a few really great passes. And since then, I've seen Grosjean's confidence grow on the oval tracks. He was running up front towards the end of the race at Texas earlier this season. I know it didn't end well if he ended up crashing out, but he showed us that he just figured out the oval racing. And there's some drivers when they come to IndyCar, especially from the European scene, they're very hesitant about running on the ovals. So some of them just want to run the road or street courses in the ovals, while others want to take a wait and see approach. It seems like that's the approach Armstrong is taking, and if he feels comfortable enough to eventually try an oval, I guess that's why Chip Ganassi Racing have potentially left these 2 race dates open, where he could run the Iowa doubleheader weekend or Gateway. And if Armstrong is not feeling comfortable enough to run them, I don't think it would be that hard to just plug into Kumasato to get those races in.
We'll have more then from IndyCar tomorrow, when the action for day 3 kicks off, and the second day in total of on-track action as well. Now, after significant flooding has impacted this region of Italy, Formula 1 has made the decision to cancel this weekend's Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. Formula 1 has stated on an update as well, the Formula 1 community wants to send its thoughts to the people and communities affected by the recent events in the Emilia Romagna region. We also want to pay tribute to the work of the emergency services, who are doing everything they can to help those in need. Following discussions between Formula 1, the president of the FIA, the competent authorities, including the relevant minister, the Automotive Club of Italy, and the president of the Emilia Romagna region, and the mayor of the city, and the promoter, the decision has been taken not to proceed with the Grand Prix weekend in Imola. The decision has been taken because it is not possible to safely hold the event for our fans, the teams, and our personnel, and it's the right and responsible thing to do. Given the situation faced by the towns and cities in the region, it would not be right to put further pressure on the local authorities and emergency services at this difficult time. A number of teams have come out with solidarity, the first of which is Mercedes as well. Race. I can't see it yet on my screen. It took a while for me to load in. Mercedes AMG Petronas F1 team fully supports the decision by Formula 1, the FIA, the race promoters and local authorities to not proceed with the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix weekend. The safety of the people in the Emilia Romagna region must take priority, alongside allowing local authorities and emergency services to continue their vital work helping those in need. Our thoughts are with the victims, families and communities who have been affected by the flooding in the region. Adam Every says, continue prayers for the Emilia Romagna region in Italy as well. And to add to that, to the last time I was told by Craig Slater, who works at Sky Sports F1, our thoughts and prayers are with the 3 people who have tragically been killed in this flooding. Red Bull also have released statements saying, following the heavy rain that has affected northern Italy, we support the decision taken by F1 to not proceed with Grand Prix in Imola this weekend. Safety to all those involved and in the region is paramount and has to take priority. Our thoughts are with those affected by the ongoing flooding in Emilia Romagna and with the emergency teams serving in the region at this difficult time. The teams as well, not counting, of course, Alfa Romeo, but Ferrari, who own the circuit, and AlphaTauri's home race this is. Ferrari put out a statement saying, we fully support the decision of Formula 1 and the FIA to cancel the Imola GP. Even though it's our home race, and therefore even more important to us, the main priority at the moment has to be the safety of all those living and working in the affected areas. And AlphaTauri also releasing a statement saying AlphaTauri is very concerned about events unfolding over the past hours in Firenze and indeed in the whole Emilia Romagna region. With flooding and heavy rain causing considerable damage, the team's factory is currently unaffected and everything is being done to ensure the safety of our employees and their families. Our sympathies go out to those affected, and we continue to monitor the situation to see what can be done to help those in need as we await further developments. Now, also just want to add to that as well, AlphaTauri have set up a fund page as well on their social media So if you go to any social media platform where AlphaTauri has a presence, you will find the relevant details there for support in the AlphaTauri region. The whole Formula One paddock has got behind that. And now, while a final decision hasn't been made, it's unlikely that the race in Imola will be rescheduled to a later date. According to Chris Metland from Racer.com, AlphaTauri team members were forced to leave their homes last night because of flooding in Firenze as well. So they were forced to sleep in the team's factory as the water continued to rise. In an exhausting season with over 20 scheduled races, is the cancellation of the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix a welcome break for the F1 paddock?
Well, I'll say, Josh, it comes at the expense of unwelcome circumstances. I want to echo everything the teams and Adam said in the chat room. Definitely going to be thinking about all of the people affected by these terrible floods, and also really sad to hear that some people have lost their lives from this terrible tragedy. Yeah, so I'm sure the teams are definitely going to be happy to have a break, but at the same time, you certainly don't want it to come at the expense of others suffering. Yeah, we've been talking about for the longest time that having over 20 races on the Formula One calendar, going back and forth all over the world, we're wondering if a lot of people are gonna get burnt out in the paddock and a lot of wear and tear on their bodies of continuing to travel to all of these extra races, as it seems like the Formula One calendar is continuing to grow and grow and grow. Yeah, so I think having an extra weekend off is certainly going to help everybody recharge the batteries and all of that. And since it doesn't seem like the race is going to be rescheduled at a later date, that's even better. So the teams won't have to plan for an extra weekend on the road.
Yeah, I agree. Just, all our thoughts go out to the people who are affected by this, and very sad that this flooding has taken lives. Also too, for AlphaTauri, I hope that everything goes okay with, their shop and whatnot, and everything goes okay. But yeah, you talk about, having an extra off week. I mean, to kind of put a lighter spin on things, like if your boss called you and said you don't have work tomorrow, you would feel pretty good and you would sleep in, you feel pretty recharged. So I think that's kind of how a lot of the teams are seeing this, that it's a chance to recharge, a chance to, kind of just breathe a little bit and just relax. So I think that's good for them. Obviously for AlphaTauri, just hope for all the best. Of course, that's the scary situation that they have to, go to their factory to be able to, just stay safe. So just hope for the best for them for sure.
Alfa Romeo haven't released a statement as well, but they have echoed their support to the AlphaTauri team as well. And if one of our wonderful moderators could just allow the link I've just posted in as well, that will take you to the AlphaTauri tweet as well, with all the information on how to support the local area as well. Now, looking forward as well with our next story, for Wayne Taylor Racing with Andretti Autosport will expand its IMSA GTP program to a two-car effort in 2024 with a of Acura ARX-06s. Now, Ricky Taylor and Felipe Albuquerque have already been confirmed for next year, continuing their partnership in the number 10 Konica Mintola Acura, and additional drivers will be announced for both cars at a later date. Taylor said that this move will also allow the team to lead on their teammates and to push everybody to be better, whether it's on the driver or engineering side. His father, Wayne Taylor, said it's always been in the plans to become a two-car team, and talked about the advantages of having an additional car to take the fight to the other factory-based two-car efforts, and the photo courtesy of WTR Andretti as well. Do you know, KB, I mentioned to you about needing glasses as well, but one of the words is a massive, great big smudge on the glasses. I couldn't read one of the words. So that's always great, isn't it? As you know, the difficulty as well. Now, we've already seen this team accomplish many great things in sports car racing. Will this move make WTR Andretti more of a threat on race day?
It's certainly going to be interesting to see how they're going to handle this expansion. I certainly don't doubt them. When Wayne Taylor Racing and Andretti Autosport joined forces, a lot of people have been like, the rest of the competition need to be scared. I'm sure they're going to have an equal amount of great people on both cars next year, and they're going to go out there and try to make sure that they can be as competitive as possible to take the fight to the other manufacturers who are going to be out there competing against them. And typically when we see an expansion go on in motorsports, it can go one or two ways. Either makes the team a lot stronger, or sometimes the expansion may come too soon and it may not work out. You may see a drop in performance across the board. But Wayne Taylor Racing, I know there's been talk of them expanding for quite a number of years now. So we know they've already been planning for this eventual day to come. And I'm sure when they hit the ground running with their 2-car program next year, they're certainly going to be ready to go and make sure that both cars are going to be able to take the fight. And another thing that thinking back of when we first entered the GTP era, we saw different teams with the manufacturers working together. Like on the Cadillac side, you saw Action Express working with Chip Ganassi Racing, and then on the Acura side, you saw Meyer Shank Racing and Wayne Taylor Racing and Andretti Autosport working together. But we all remember what happened after the Rolex 24 when Meyer Shank Racing got in big trouble there, and then Wayne Taylor Racing made Wayne Taylor himself made some fiery comments about Meyer Shank Racing after they worked so closely together. It seemed like some trust had been broken there, especially with them being manufacturer teammates and sharing data and all of that, and bringing on a second car. They can share data with themselves, and they don't have to worry as much about the Meyer Shank group, especially if some harsh feelings are still there.
Moving on to our third story then of the evening, technically our fourth, as well. Trackhouse Racing team owner Justin Marks has broken his silence relating to his controversial driver of Ross Chastain. Now, once again, Chastain was the talk of the town after Darlington. Another aggressive move gone terribly wrong and screwed over Kyle Larson for the third consecutive race. Larson's crew chief, Cliff Daniels, addressed Chevrolet on the radio, saying that that's the third time Chastain has taken out a bow tie. Okay. The third incident was towards the end of the race at Talladega when Chastain and Noah Gragson made contact, which resulted in Larson crashing out hard with Ryan Preece as well. Even team owner Rick Hendrick was fired up after the race at Darlington. He gave Chastain credit for having the talent, but he thinks the overly aggressive driving isn't doing him any favors by adding on-track enemies. Here, I said similar. Mr. H also said that this is really getting old with Chastain's fellow competitors. Hendrick added he doesn't care if Chastain is a Chevrolet teammate and admitted to telling Chevy that saying if you wreck us, you're going to get it back because expect his to stand their ground. Spotter Brett Griffin's race account brought up the point that Chastain's Cup pit crew serviced Larson's car in the Xfinity race he won last Saturday at Darlington. There are allegations that Larson gave Chastain's crew a hand gesture after the incident at Dover, which led to the number one Cup pit crew not joining Larson in victory lane. Chastain's car owner Marks went on Sirius XM NASCAR radio to praise his driver for having a good race early on until it all fell apart, admitting he had some tough conversations with different people. Despite the list of people in the garage unhappy with Chastain growing, Marks still supports his driver, although he says Ross has to start cleaning up some things and the team has started the process of handling that more aggressively as well. Photo taken by Ben Jackson from Getty Images as well. I agree with everything just said there, despite how long it was. And Jonathan, could Chastain's overly aggressive driving style be on his 9th and final life now before we see real consequences after these latest developments?
You know, I've never heard of anybody naming a cat named Ross, but I have heard of Rusty Wallace calling drivers cool cats. And, you know, Rusty was in the booth when Ross had one of the incidents, of course, with Kyle Larson. Cliff Daniels came over the radio after that incident happened Sunday and said, that's the third time that one car has gotten us. You know, you have the incident at Talladega, which, of course, was Ross going to the middle when it looked like Noah Gragson moved out of the groove. It seemed okay. Dover, a little bit more egregious, a little bit of impatience. Kansas, it looked like that was more of like aggressive racing, tight racing. Noah getting mad at Ross. Of course, that did involve Kyle Larson. The Dover incident did. But then Darlington, I think that kind of stepped over a line where we saw Ross, who's going to be in contention for a win in overtime or near overtime, and just went into the corner and did not give Kyle Larson an inch and did not give himself an inch and wrecked both of them. Took, Ross out of the race. He took himself out of the race, took Larson out of the race. I think when you look at who Ross is right now, he's obviously earned that villain status among a lot of drivers to the point where, Kyle Larson and Ross Chastain, I remember being at Talladega and in the bullpen, and Kyle Larson was congratulating Ross on his win. And now they're kind of at each other's necks. I think it's a great rivalry. They're two very talented drivers, but I think Larson is at a point in his career where his talent, his skill is definitely more refined than Ross's talent and skill is. There's more experience. There's more time under his belt running up front and running for wins and championships. That I think Ross just he's at that point where he just has to learn a little bit. And I understand Justin Marks sat him down and kind of said, hey, this is the way things are going to be. We've got, Rick Hendrick, who usually is pretty good at, holding his tongue and usually pretty diplomatic, saying he's fed up with things. I mean, it's definitely a wake-up call for him. I don't want Ross to change because I think his aggressive style does fit, but it just has to fit in a way where he's translating that into wins and championships and being the standout driver that I really think he is, and standout personality that I really think he is.
Absolutely as well. And definitely I was commentating on the race with Ross Chastain's move as well. I quote him as the darling of Darlington as well because of everybody getting on top of him there as well. I said at the time, I think he needs a talking to because it was getting a bit ridiculous. And I'm glad that now they seem to be taking that as well. And hopefully a more calm presence from our championship leader. Let's not forget as well, as we're more than halfway through the normal regular season, getting in towards playoff territory as well. Okay, we've not got Matt White this weekend, as you can see, and we haven't got a video from him at the moment either, which means it's time for Kobe's wonderful segment of news. But there's not a lot going on tonight as well, so I think he's going to be less than 10 minutes like I timed him before. All yours, Kobe.
Well, there's only one other story going on since we didn't have much going on besides everything else we talked about. And that one story is Corvette Racing Factory driver Jordan Taylor will make his NASCAR Xfinity Series debut next month at Portland International Raceway. Taylor will drive the number 10 Chevrolet Ford Colic Racing, and his road course racing skills should be very beneficial for teammates Daniel Hemrick and Chandler Smith. He said he can't wait for this opportunity with Colic and knows he'll be in a car capable of winning. This will also be his first time racing at Portland earlier this year. We all remember Taylor made his Cup debut at COTA, substituting for Chase Elliott, a good qualifying effort, but he finished 24th in his first Cup race. In the graphic you see on the screen, courtesy of Colic Racing. And now time for everyone's favorite game. Pick a winner. And looking at the leaderboard there, you see Alex Spleener from Twitter is leading. Then you have myself and Edward Hunter tied for second. You have Matt White, Matthew Bro, Ben, Josh T, Joe, and everybody else going down the line. It's really getting tied up there at the front. I'm going to see if I can try to get up there and take the lead once again. And so, Josh, going to throw it over to you first, actually. We're only doing one race this week for Pick a Winner tonight. Supercars race 1 for Tasmania. Are you going to go with SVG or someone else?
Ed's not leading the Pick a Winner. Ed's not leading the Pick a Winner. Is it Christmas? Is it my Christmas present? Brilliant. Yes. Get in. Get in. It's taken 5 months for him to be dethroned at the top as well after he got the early start in Formula E. Well done, Alex. I'm rooting for you. I'm only kidding. Ed knows this, but it's just, yes, a little bit of one-upmanship. Okay, first race then. I should have got some points with the Formula One, but obviously that's not going to go ahead. So I think I'll stick with my guns and go SVG, Shane van Gisbergen, to take the first race as well here for the supercars. But I didn't know that. That's made my day. That I was dancing as well around. That has made my night as well. Ed's not the top of Pick a Winner. The gloating of him can stop.
Well, at least the gloating from Ed is going to stop for the moment, but it might only be temporary because we've seen Ed has some really good luck, some great picks, and we may see Ed retake the lead later on within the next next several weeks or so. And Supercars has become so much more competitive lately, and Shane Van Gisbergen hasn't been running away with it. I'm thinking about picking someone else, but I'm going to stick with the safe pick and go with SVG to get the job done in race 1 in Tasmania. Jonathan, did you want to take a shot at try to pick a winner point on the board?
Oh man, you're talking about supercars here. At Tasmania. I always love seeing the drivers race at Tasmania. Tasmania is one of my favorite tracks. As far as a winner, oh man, that's putting me on the spot here. I'm gonna go with Shane Van Gisbergen. We'll go with him.
Can I jump in here, Kobe? Because I've actually got a good answer for this. If you're in the UK, all sessions for the Indianapolis 500 this weekend will now air live on Sky Sports F1. And if you're outside of the United States, IndyCarLive.com is the official international broadcast of IndyCar. It's their own company. It's the world feed. And you can watch practice and qualifying for free, as well as the warm-up sessions from outside as well. Great network. And that's how I was covering some of the sessions as well over during the rain delay when Sky went off air, so I was able to keep an eye on the track. So IndyCarLive.com is absolutely fantastic if you're a international viewer as well. If you're inside the US, of course, it's Peacock. And Adam's agreeing with SVG and Tasmania as well. Sorry, Kobe, I didn't know if you wanted to say that or not. Yeah. At least you have to know, don't you, Kobe, as well, only for a few weeks. Yeah, we've got a double header coming up soon as well in Jakarta. So knowing Ed, he'll sweep that as well, and I won't be anywhere near it. Okay, so taking a look at our upcoming schedule. Friday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern, Women in Motorsports as well. Saturday noon Eastern, Grid Live pre-race show as well. Monday 7 p.m. Eastern is the Grid Live encore show, the Indy 500 practice wrap-up, and highlights from the big NASCAR action at North Wilkesboro Speedway on All-Star Weekend and more. Don't forget you can join us still tomorrow for all of the practice as well, wrap-ups as well on Thursday, same time, 6:30 p.m. Eastern for all of the action. That's half an hour, basically, after the end of the practice day. So it's easy to remember. Join us here on the Grid Network for all of the action. Now, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for helping us reach the milestone of 600 subscribers. Now help us reach our new goal of 700 subscribers on the road to 1,000 on Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern. There is our special preview show for the 107th Indianapolis 500. It's going to be absolutely fantastic, and hopefully, if I can't be on it live myself, I will be sending the video because it's always a treat, just like the Daytona 500 one as well. To not miss that, don't forget to hit the bell icon to get the notifications and follow all our social media platforms, and visit gridranking.com, where we've all got photos of ourselves on there now as well. Take 5 minutes to invest in the Grid Network through Patreon as well. Join Colin, Mark, Michelle, Robin, and David investing each month in the Grid Network. We encourage you to join the amazing group of people who keep us on the air. And once we hit $500 per month, we can start expanding our coverage, adding new members to the team, and an increased Grid Network present on site, covering the races from the track and more content. The link for that is in the video description as well. If you want to do a one-time donation, click on the Buy Me a Coffee link, get your name on the board, and invest as much as you want. And consider buying a specific on-air personality a cup of coffee, and they'll thank you on the air. For Kobe Lambeth at the finish and Jonathan Fine at the Racing Experts, I'm Joshua Birch. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Good night.
Thank you for watching us right here on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and check out some of our other videos, including Life on the Grid, where we interview folks from the motorsports industry. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.